What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another episode of Player Ratings as Tottenham lost 3-2 at the hands of Bournemouth at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium yesterday. Let's get straight into it. Sim gives Lloris a 6. I gave him a 5. Look, I thought he made a couple of decent saves throughout the game. One from a flying save from Tavernier, and that followed on a kind of from last week where he made two really good saves. So I was happy with his saves from long range. I did feel like his playing out the back was a bit dodgy at times again, and he did concede 3 goals on the day where I felt at least one of them maybe he should have done a bit better from, but I'm not going to mark him down too much on that. But yeah, I give him a 5.
Yeah, look, he made a couple of good saves. I don't think he had too much to do, to be honest, during the whole game. But it's a bit frustrating when the majority of the shots on target end up in the back of the net, albeit they weren't like special strikes, but they didn't look unstoppable as well. It's not goals you can really blame Lloris for, coming out and getting dinked over. So he maybe gets criticism for not saving any of them, but again, didn't have too much to do, so I'm not marking him down too much in this one.
All right, moving on to Cuti Romero. Sim gives him a 4. I gave him a 5. Started off on the right of a back 3, ended off on the left of a back 3 when Clement Lenglet went off injured, and I don't think he covered himself in too much glory in this game. I did think that he was better than maybe definitely Sanchez and Dyer, but I felt like he kept rushing out a bit too soon and getting caught out of position a few times. His tackling wasn't exactly the best, but it was probably better than the other two. So, I mean, it wasn't the best display from Cuti.
No, and I think he started to shine actually when we were at 2-1 down, and we brought on put Kane in midfield and literally put everyone forward, and we're asking kind of Romero to sweep up a lot, and he was actually doing quite an effective job helping us sustain that pressure on Bournemouth, which obviously led to the equaliser. But I'll have to say, when we were in a back 3 and Bournemouth, and also for the third goal as well, I don't think he covered himself in much glory, and was quite kind of sloppy, and especially defensively wise, did get caught out a couple of times. So it wasn't a great display overall from a defensive point of view, but I think he was a big part of why we were able to pen Bournemouth in for the latter part of that second half.
Let's move on to Eric Dyer. 4s all round from us. Again, poor display from Eric Dyer. I thought early on he was actually playing quite good and influencing the play going forward. And later on in the game, when we were really pushing things, he was getting up the pitch on the right-hand side and trying to cause a bit of a problem. But it was in between then when the real problems came. I mean, defensively, we were all over the shop, and I felt for a number of the goals and for other periods of the game, he was just caught out of position and couldn't get back in time.
Yeah, I thought I didn't see his passing range at full flight, to be honest, during this game.
There was just a couple of moments in the early stages of the game.
Yeah, I think it was early on, but I actually think compared to like Romero when we went to the back 4, I think that he actually wasn't that great in the back 4, because I think he's not as good of a one-on-one defender as Romero. So he got caught out a couple of times. He was part of that mess for the second goal, which again, trying to cover space, but he was just the whole defence was all over the place, no organisation, and he was definitely a big part of that. Third goal, he wasn't even in the penalty area, so he wasn't really involved with it. But I just think defensively, when he had to defend, he didn't look comfortable. But I guess he didn't have, in a weird way, didn't have that much defending to do during the game.
Next up, Clement Lenglet in the left of the back 3. Sim gives him a 3.
Yeah, I think I made a mistake there. Whatever, we'll keep the 3.
Keep the 3. He's gonna fill this on the.
Yeah, poor guy. I think I meant to put. I think it must be a typo, but it is what it is.
What did you want?
I think a 5.
Yeah, I gave him a 6. I mean, look, at the end of the day, Clement Lenglet got taken off after 35 minutes. It was his brilliant ball over the top to find Ivan Perisic to set us on our way for our first goal. And I felt like the bad moments came after he went off the pitch. So I don't think there was... I thought he was our best defender probably on the day.
Well, we were 1-0 up when he went off, weren't he? He did all right, to be fair. And it was a brilliant ball for Perisic. So I can't complain too much. Although I would say we did start to... concede control while he was on the pitch, and obviously Tavernier was that chance for him was down his side, but yeah, he went off injured, and then the calamity really started. So yeah.
Next up, Pedro Porro at right wing back. Sim gives him a 2. I gave him a 3, and it was a disaster class from Pedro Porro yesterday. I mean, even before we'd started conceding, you could see, their players definitely had the beating of him. He was weak in the challenge. He was getting muscled off the ball. He was really poor defensively. Had his hand in pretty much all the goals that we conceded yesterday. The first one, he runs into trouble into 3 players. The last one, he got completely bodied by Solanke, and I'm sure he had something to do with the second one as well, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But it was just a really bad day at the office from him yesterday.
Yeah, and the only reason I didn't give him less than a 2, or sorry, he got a 2 and not a 1, is because I did feel like in the second half, just give him a few positives, I did think some of his crosses were dangerous, and I actually thought that the whip and the technique on them were pretty good, and we could have made more of them. But I have to say, during the game, it wasn't. First of all, his defending was atrocious. I think you've outlined that pretty clearly. But it wasn't even just that. I thought on the ball as well, there was a lack of care, lack of accuracy with his passing. He was giving it away constantly, especially in that first half. Like, his passes weren't finding a teammate at all. That was really, really frustrating. He was trying to take people on and kept getting tackled as well. He wasn't able to take anyone on really during the game, and it was just a shambles.
It's that moment where we concede that first goal. I mean, what is he thinking? Like, when he's got the ball and he darts inside and just runs into 3 players.
Just to give him a bit, just to defend him a bit. Yes, it was. You can't give the ball away in that scenario, and that definitely goes down to you. But if you take like a screenshot of like his options when he has the ball there, there's very limited. He doesn't really have too many options in a close proximity. So I do kind of feel for him as like but. You know, if you're going to give the ball away there, if you're in danger of giving the ball away, you get rid. You don't just allow the opposition to win it on the edge of your own area like that. And
granted, Sanchez did play him into trouble. There's no two ways about that. But you still got to be doing better there.
Yeah, you can't. No, there's no excuse for dribbling like that. Even if you don't have options, you have to just get rid of it and deal with it later. You can't lose possession there. And then, second goal, a couple of times he had the chance to intercept the ball, and he kept going back to a Bournemouth player, and it led to the goal. Another goal, and then third goal, he was all over the shop again. So defensively, I think this guy has got a lot of work to do, and on the ball as well. I mean, he's got a really good cross on him, and he's shown when he gets forward when he's been at Tottenham that he can be definitely a danger in the final third. But when it comes to taking people on and his general play, it's got to improve from this kind of level if he's going to be a long-term success here.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move on to the central midfield. Pierre-Emile Højbjerg falls all round for Højbjerg, and I think these kind of performances are coming a bit consistent for Højbjerg, and it's kind of worrying to me. Lack of care on the ball, like you mentioned, for Porro. I thought Højbjerg had that yesterday. I just thought he was weak, definitely weak for that last goal. I mean, I don't know what he's doing, trying to get over and just couldn't get over, and he gets beaten. And I just thought consistently, time and time again, he's just losing the ball. It's just so frustrating because he gets the ball in the middle of the park, he's scanning the pitch, and he just passes it back to him every single time. And it's just so frustrating. And I don't understand where this has all come from Højbjerg, because it's like every single game I'm talking about how he's got a lack of care. And that's not what you associate with Højbjerg. You associate him with hard-working, gritty play. And I'm not seeing that at the moment.
Yeah, and it seems to be a few times now we're seeing just like him getting very easily beaten and in lead-ups to goals. And for the third goal, I know it's the last minute, so maybe they're tired legs, but the way Utara was able to chop in so easily and get the shot off was too easy from someone who's supposed to be a really good, defensive midfielder. Hard to get past. It was way too easy to get past. I think during the game, I don't have that many complaints. I just thought there was a lack of creativity when we were putting Bournemouth under pressure. Someone like Højbjerg usually comes up with like a few attempts on goal or a few good passes in behind. Didn't really offer too much on that point of view. And I just thought in general, I thought more defensively when they were on the counter, he struggled a bit. I think on the ball, I didn't have too many complaints in terms of like being a liability, but there was nothing good about it. There was no like line breaking passes or like passes that really put Bournemouth under pressure. So disappointing.
Let's move on to his partner in Ollie Skipp. Sim gives him a 4. I gave him a 5. Not much in there from Ollie Skipp. I thought he worked hard. But again, it's pretty much carbon copies from the last few weeks from Ollie Skipp. Works hard, but no real quality.
Yeah, similar Højbjerg. I didn't have I don't think he was like a massive reason why we didn't win, but I think it was probably a good move to take him off and add that creativity with Kane in the middle. It was a smart move from Stellini, and it nearly paid off. I think there was endeavour, there was heart, but the quality was there and thereabouts. It was very mixed, I felt, by Ollie Skip on the day, and it was okay, but nothing special.
Moving on to Ivan Perisic at left wing back. Sim gives him a 5. I gave him a 6. And again, like a bit of a carbon copy to last game, where in the start of the game, he's looking really dangerous, really threatening, gets in behind, provides the assist for Sonny. He was getting other good balls into the box as well. And it looks like we were going to have a good game from him. But then after about 20 minutes, half an hour, he just vanished out of the game. We never saw him again.
Yeah, again, defensively, I don't think too much came down his side. Like Ryan Christie wasn't giving him too much trouble, so he did have a bit of a free rein to get forward. And in the first half, especially in the opening 20 minutes or so, he was a real danger and he was causing trouble. He was actually having a really good game, and he got a really good assist. What was that 12 assists now for him this season?
Something like that, yeah. In all comps.
In all comps, so fair play. Like, he's good goal contributions there. But the second half, how many chances did he have to whip good quality into the box and failed to do so? And then there was a couple of times his corners, to be fair, were troubling them, but there was one corner right near the end where it was so poor, didn't even beat the first man, and it caused a lot of groans from the Spurs fans. Albeit I think his set pieces were decent throughout. He did have a chance of the free kick, would put it wide as well. But I think most of all, disappointment comes from the fact that in the second half he had so many opportunities to whip in good crosses, and the quality wasn't there a lot of the time, and that was really disappointing. But first half he was decent.
Moving on to Decky, 4s all round for Kulusevski, and look, apart from a couple of block shots, I thought he was really poor yesterday in the game. Couldn't take on his man. I thought he got tackled every single time, dispossessed, and it's just another following on from the theme with Decky. He's just not in a good form at the moment, and another poor display.
Yeah, I did think he improved a bit once he moved central later in the game. He was starting to get a bit more involved. But again, we were trying to play through the centre, like in between the lines, have that bit of incisiveness. And he was the player tasked with it, and he just wasn't able to do so. It was too congested. And the only joy he was getting when he was going out wide and joining Porro and Danjuma and kind of outnumbering them out wide, he was getting a bit of joy there. But again, wasn't able to fashion any good crosses in the box or get good shots off. His dribbling was okay, and he was able to retain the ball well, but Decky really used what separated Decky as what last season wasn't him and his elite forward or a winger was his contributions and his effectiveness in the final third, and that seems to be really drying up, and that's really worrying because the other side of his games are good, like his dribbling and ball retention, but that's what set him apart, and that drying up is a bit of cause for concern, I have to say.
I've been seeing a few articles and a few tweets about people talking about Kulusevski. This has been going on for about a month or two. Do you reckon he's been found out a little bit and he needs to add a few more tools to his armoury?
I don't think it's found out at all, actually, because found out kind of implies that he's being stifled in games, and that's not the case. I actually still see him beating players. I still see him causing trouble. What's the problem is his final third contributions are drying up. So I think it's him personally not keeping up with his own high standards he set last season. Put it this way, last season, in the 6 months he had last season, he got 5 goals and 8 assists, right, in 6 months. And he hasn't been able to match that even this season. Over a whole season he's got 2 goals and 6 assists, so he can't even match what he did in 6 months last season. But I don't think it's about him being found out. I don't think that's it, because I think it's not as if teams know how to defend against him, because I still see defenders struggling to deal with him, but it's more about his ability to find those right passes he was doing last season.
It'd be interesting to see what his XA or XG is over the course of this season. Maybe we'll do a bit of a show on it, but anyway, let's move on to Harry Kane. Sim gives him a 5. I gave him a 4. I thought he was anonymous for a lot of the game yesterday. Did have a couple of chances. Son played him through where he should have done better from. He had a header in the second half as well, which maybe he should have done better from. But I mean, apart from that, I thought he was trying to dictate things when we were going gung-ho in the latter stages of the game, but I thought it was a fairly anonymous display.
I thought, again, when he moved to centre mid, actually, he started to be a bit more effective and getting a bit more on the ball and dictate things a bit more. He was quite good at being a playmaker, actually, to be honest, spreading the ball out wide and causing openings. He obviously did have a couple of moments in the box, which he'll probably feel like he should have done better with a header and definitely a chance for Son, as you said. But for Kane's high standards, for sure, not involved anywhere near enough. And he should be getting like more shots on target and stuff like that. And he'll have to take responsibility for it.
And the last but not least, Heung-min Son. Sim gives him a 6. I gave him a 7. I thought he was our best player on the day yesterday. And I thought he was a constant threat. I mean, he was the most likely one if anyone was going to do something. He obviously slipped Kane through where Kane should have done better. He should have had an assist there. Scored our first goal with, albeit a deflection, but a nice finish. And I thought he was just constantly trying to make stuff happen, a lot of energy. But obviously, we lost the game.
Yeah, and I actually, to be fair, Son in the first half, he looked electric and looked really on form, and he got his goal and he was forcing saves out of the goalkeeper, and it looked like, okay, Son was like really on it. But when the space got clogged up in that second half, he started to struggle a bit, and he was actually more in a central area, I felt, for a lot of the game. And he was trying to fashion opportunities for shots, but they kept blocking the angles, and I actually thought he was quite well shackled in the second half, albeit in the first half he was definitely our brightest attack, and I did think on the day he was our most dangerous player, but I thought he was quite well shackled in the second half when the space when there was no space to play in. So apart from, I thought after he had a good first half, went a bit anonymous in the second.
Moving on to the substitutes, Davinson Sanchez, 2s for us for Davinson. Comes on 35 minutes, goes off on around the 60th minute. He played his part in 2 goals that we conceded. An absolute disastrous substitution, you got to say. So basically, I gave Lucas Moura when he got sent off after 5 minutes a 1, and I gave him a 1 just for entering the pitch. I'm going to give Davinson a 2, 1 for entering the pitch, half a point for lasting more than 5 minutes, and half a point just because I feel bad for him what he had to endure yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, it feels bad to pile on a player who was roundly criticised at the stadium yesterday and ended up getting hauled off after 20 minutes. But you just have to admit, call a spade a spade, and you have to say he was atrocious, if I'm being honest. It was a terrible, terrible cameo from him. Didn't do anything right, never looked comfortable on the ball. Was giving the ball away in silly areas. When he was asked to defend, he was making an absolute mess of things. For the first goal, his lack of composure led to Spurs getting put in trouble, and he was allowed to Vina to run off him as well. Second goal, it was a complete muddle and a mess, and he couldn't tackle Tavernier. When he did tackle him, it fell to Solanke, and I just thought throughout the whole second half he was just all over the place, and got taken off after 55 minutes. Don't like to see what the fans doing, like booing him, and I think he knows he didn't play well, and the fact he got taken off is I think probably says it all. He doesn't need the fans to boo him and tell him that. I think everyone knows he didn't play well, so I don't like to see that from the fans, but he did have an atrocious cameo.
Absolutely. Moving on to Danjuma, 7s all round from us, gets his goal, really nice finish, albeit it did take a slight deflection going in, but I thought he offered energy, he offered will, he looked like he really wanted it, he was full of energy. Which you can't say for a lot of the players on the pitch yesterday. But, everyone's coming on and giving Danjuma loads of praise, which I get because he scored a goal and came on. But, every player should be showing the application, desire and the energy that he was showing. Like, if he comes on for, let's say, Arsenal in the way they're playing and puts that carbon copy performance in, no one's writing home about it. But just because it's Spurs and just because of everything's going on at Spurs and what the players are showing on the pitch, it looks like Danjuma was amazing because he actually ran a little bit.
Yeah, I know. To be fair, I think he was taking people on. He was actually beating his man. Obviously, he got a nice goal. I think he was bright, and the goal was good reward for some good runs and some good energy. I don't think there was too much quality in his crossing in the final third, although his dribbling definitely was dangerous.
What I'm trying to say, he looked so much better just because he looked like he wanted it and looked like he was actually running around and making space, and there was so static everywhere.
And we don't have too many players like him as well, so he offers something different. So he just looks different, when he gets the ball compared to a lot of our other attackers who just maybe aren't as good as at dribbling as he is. So I thought he was decent. It was looking back, it looks like the goal took a bit of reflection, but it was a good strike anyway. And obviously he nearly set up another goal for Richarlison, but it was just offside. But a good cameo from him.
Yeah,
and
really
you have to say,
he deserves a start.
He must have one of the best minutes to goal ratios.
Yeah, literally.
He's got 2 goals in what? Has he played even 90 minutes total football?
How the hell has he got more Premier League goals than Richarlison this year?
Has he played, do you reckon, 90 minutes of total football?
No, not at all. No chance.
Because he's played half an hour yesterday against Preston, against
he came on last 20 minutes at Preston,
and then the other has been like
barely 10 minutes.
1 or 2 minutes. Yeah. So he must have a brilliant minutes to goal ratio.
But it's unbelievable that he's scored a Premier League goal before.
Yeah,
Richarlison.
I know. Richard.
It's absolutely nuts. But on Danjuma, surely he deserves a start next game though.
Yeah. What's the next game? Newcastle. Yeah, I would in that game, to be honest, because I think they're going to be more on top of us, and if he's going to be more of a threat on the break than Kulusevski.
All right, let's go to the last but not least of the playing staff, Richarlison, who came on for the last 15 minutes, 5s all round from us. I mean, he huffed and he puffed, showed that energy in that fight that we know Richarlison can show. But it's all going to boil down to that chance that he had right at the end. You know, massive chance. He's going to be... He probably had a sleepless night over it yesterday because the 3 points was there literally at the palm of our hand. And all he had to do was head it into the net. It was an open header and he completely fluffed it and it went wide. He did think he had scored just before Danjuma scored, but Danjuma was offside. It was that one was a bit of a fluky finish. But look, I think he came on, showed energy, but he had to finish that off.
Yeah, that was it. That was literally the game right there. And as you say, we're looking back at that, and you could see when he missed it, his head was in his hands like for ages. He just couldn't believe that it trickled wide. And you got a feel for him a bit. Third offside goal on the Tottenham show. You just can't get that goal to count in the Premier League.
Huh? One of them wasn't even offside.
Yeah, I know. I feel so bad for him in a way. And this one was a bit of a fluke, but he just can't get it. To be fair to him, he was winning headers. He was being a threat, and he was being a bit of a nuisance without the real quality. But he did add that extra threat. But again, he never really did much anything special. Albeit he added threat to the team, but he didn't like force any saves or anything like that. Nothing special individually. So it was an okay cameo, but nothing special.
Yeah, it's like with Richarlison, the way we kind of describe him every week is like, yeah, he showed fight, he showed passion, but not enough quality. I remember another player that we used to say that about a lot, in Roberto Soldado.
I don't know if but maybe he's on Soldado. So well, look, to be fair, Soldado scored in his debut, so yeah, has that over Richarlison.
Yeah, and you got to remember Soldado was top goal scorer in La Liga over the stretch of 5 years under Messi and Ronaldo. So you know what I mean. Soldado came here actually probably with a bigger reputation than Richarlison came here with. For sure. So let's move on to the manager, Christian Stellini. 5s all round for Stellini. Look, the way he set us up was just same, and it's just frustrating to see the team play every week the same thing when we know what's going to happen. The players aren't buying into it anymore, and look, we were dominating for a short spell of the game, and then things turned, and we couldn't figure a way around to regain that control until it was too late, really. Or in the second half, I guess we did turn it around a bit, but we weren't creating too many clear-cut chances. I felt that substitution when he brought in Davinson Sanchez, I know he was limited to options, but he could have either brought in Tanganga or gone to a 4 at the back in that early stage of the game. Because when you look at it, right, they were already coming on top of us. They were already pressuring our back line. And how do you think it's a right move to bring on Davinson Sanchez when our back line is being pressured?
Well, we're 1-0 up. He's not going to change the formation.
I get we're 1-0 up, but the game's turning. The game had been turning.
It had only been turning for a couple of minutes at that point. It was too. I don't think you could say like the game had turned already by the time Sanchez came on.
I thought it was a good 5-10 minutes where Bournemouth were on top of us. As soon as I saw Davinson Sanchez warming up, I said this is the completely wrong move to make. You either bring in Tanganga or you go to 4 at the back. I mean, Davinson Sanchez was the complete wrong call at that particular moment, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, hindsight's 2020. Obviously,
but I said that at the time.
Yeah, I know. Okay, fair enough. I didn't have too many complaints in terms of the options he had to keep the formation. That's what I expected, to be honest. That it was what he was going to do. Maybe he should have picked Tanganga over Sanchez, but I mean Sanchez. It was an absolute disaster class from him, but I don't blame Stellini necessarily at that point, just keeping the formation as it was. But I think he did the right thing, taking him off early, making the bold call,
the right thing, yeah.
and also just really forcing the issue and taking it to Bournemouth and like throwing on the extra attackers and throwing caution to the wind, and it nearly paid off in that scenario. And at one point he's a bit unlucky because of the Richarlison miss and offside or whatever. So you got a bit unlucky that it didn't pay off. But on the flip side, you could also argue that the way we were set up cost us that third goal as well.
Yeah.
So.
But things I do like is that the ability to change things where when Sanchez came on, he put him on the right and put Romero on the left, because we all know what Sanchez is like on the left. If we have any sort of fighting chance, it will be with Sanchez on the right, albeit it didn't work out that way. But I like the little tweaks that he does make. I like the way how he went gung-ho when we really needed to. And those are the kind of differences that we didn't see Conte do, really. So.
Yeah. So I give him credit for the changes. So that's why you got like a 5 and nothing, and not less than that. But at the end of the day, you can't get credit when we're losing to home to Bournemouth. So exactly. And especially when one of the changes ended up costing us a couple of goals. So look, some positives from that kind of point of view, just the manager point of view. A couple of positives from the changes and all that. But at the end of the day, still nowhere near good enough.
Yeah, another terrible day at the office for Tottenham Hotspur. And what's even more worrying is that came at home rather than away from home. So I dread to think what's going to happen for the rest of the season. But that is your player ratings. Let me know in the comment section below your thoughts on our player ratings, and put your ratings in the comment section below. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always,